All right, hello and welcome. Today, we're going on a journey that's been 60,000 years in the making. We're going to trace the incredible story of how we, as a species, learned to heal ourselves using the oldest and biggest pharmacy in the world, nature itself.
Hey, you curious about health? Hell, hey, wanna learn without the stress? Hell, hey, welcome to Cartoon Clinic.
So, let's dive in. I want you to just think about that for a second. Imagine a world with no white coats, no prescriptions, no pharmacies. A world where a cut could get infected, and that was it. How did our ancestors survive? How did they handle pain, or fight off fevers, or heal a wound? For almost all of human history, the solution wasn't in a bottle. It was in the ground, on the trees, in the flowers. It was all around us. This is the story of herbal medicine. So, where does our story begin? Well, it actually starts before modern humans were even on the scene. It begins with one of our deepest, most primal instincts, the instinct to heal. Let's talk about the very first healers. Okay, this is absolutely mind-blowing. In a place called Shanidar Cave in Iraq, archaeologists found a Neanderthal burial site. And in that grave, they found pollen from plants like yarrow and ephedra that we know have medicinal properties. This wasn't an accident. They were intentionally buried with healing plants. It suggests that the desire to heal, to use nature to soothe, might actually be older than our own species. Just think about that for a second. So, how do we get from this ancient instinct to an actual recorded science? Well, that huge leap forward happens when civilization begins, when we finally started writing all of this priceless knowledge down. This timeline is basically our roadmap for this explainer. We're starting with those ancient healers, then jumping to the very first prescriptions in Sumer. We'll see these amazing medical systems pop up in Greece and the Islamic Golden Age, witness the birth of modern drugs, and then see how it's all coming full circle today. In ancient Sumer, modern-day Iraq, we find the first real written proof, clay tablets etched with lists of hundreds of medicinal plants. And look at this key remedy, willow bark for pain. I want you to keep that one in your back pocket. It's going to be a major character in our story. Then, over in Egypt, you have the incredible Ebers papyrus, this massive scroll with over 700 different remedies, mixing a bit of magic with some really effective practical plant-based medicine. So, from these early records, these huge philosophical systems of medicine start to take shape all over the world. People began organizing this knowledge into complex traditions that would go on to last for thousands of years. And you can really see three great pillars emerge. In China, you have traditional Chinese medicine, which is all about balancing the body's energies, the yin and the yang. In India, there's Ayurveda, which looks for a total harmony of the body, mind, and spirit. But then in Greece, something totally revolutionary started to happen. An idea that disease wasn't caused by angry gods, but by natural causes. And this quote, which we've all heard from the Greek doctor Hippocrates, really nails that massive shift. He argued that if you have a physical problem, you should look for a physical solution. And what was one of his favorite go-to remedies for pain and fever? You guessed it, our old friend, willow bark. Following the Greeks, a Roman army doctor named Dioscorides put together an absolute masterpiece. His book, De Materia Medica, became the medical encyclopedia for the entire Western world for an unbelievable 1,500 years. It was so important that it was preserved and even expanded on by brilliant scholars during the Islamic Golden Age, especially by the great physician Ibn Sina. But listen, this history wasn't just happening in Europe and Asia, not even close. At the same time, amazing, rich, and parallel traditions of healing were thriving in Africa and the Americas, all built on thousands of years of their own careful observation and wisdom. Let's take a look. Africa, with its incredible biodiversity, is like a living library of medicine. Take the Madagascar periwinkle. It was a traditional remedy for ages before modern scientists discovered it contains compounds that are now essential drugs for chemotherapy. How amazing is that? Or the African willow, used for fever, just like its European cousin. That's different people on different continents discovering the same properties in the same plant family. That's not just luck, that's science. Now let's jump across the Atlantic. The Aztec Empire had this beautifully illustrated guide, the Badianas manuscript, which was basically a complete medical textbook of their native plants. The Maya discovered that the bark of the cinchona tree could stop the awful chills of malaria, a discovery that eventually gave us quinine and saved millions of lives. And traditions like the Navajo using echinacea for infections show this really deep, hands-on understanding of the world around them. But then, in the 1800s, everything changes. The rise of modern chemistry comes along and just blows everything up. It creates this huge split, a great divide between the traditional herbalist and the new scientist in a lab coat. And that whole story, that entire divide, can be told through the journey of willow bark. For thousands of years, healers used the whole bark. Then, chemists showed up and asked, okay, but what part of the bark is actually doing the work? They managed to isolate the single active compound, salicin. And then, the final step. In 1897, they figured out how to make that compound in a lab. And just like that, aspirin was born. So this created two completely different ways of looking at medicine. On one side, you have herbalism. It uses the whole plant, believing all the different compounds work together in synergy. It's a holistic approach. On the other side, you have pharmaceuticals. They take one single, isolated compound and use it as a kind of silver bullet for a specific problem. It's precise, it's powerful, it's easy to measure. But you can get side effects, and you might miss out on the benefits of the other parts of the plant. For about a century, that silver bullet approach totally dominated, and traditional herbalism was kind of pushed to the side. But, the story doesn't end there. In the last few decades, something really fascinating has started to happen. We're seeing this amazing reunion where modern science is starting to look back at this ancient wisdom and realizing, hey, maybe we missed something. Because here's the reality check. The World Health Organization estimates that today, right now, a staggering 80% of the entire world's population still relies on traditional medicine for their basic healthcare. This isn't some niche alternative thing. It's a global fact of life. And if you want the ultimate proof of this reunion, you just have to hear the story of Tu Youyou. In 2015, she won the Nobel Prize in Medicine. And how'd she do it? By going back and studying a 1,700-year-old Chinese medical book. In it, she found the key to extracting artemisinin, which is now our single most effective drug against malaria. The answer was there the whole time, just waiting in an ancient text. And really, when you look at our modern medicine cabinet, this chart just says it all. A full quarter of all our prescription drugs, I'm talking about huge ones, like the cancer drug Taxol from the yew tree, or painkillers like morphine from poppies, they come directly from plants. The forest has always been and still is our greatest chemist. And this brings us to a really critical point for us today. When we hear about losing biodiversity, about rainforests disappearing, it's not just about losing plants and animals. We're losing the indigenous knowledge that understands them. It's like we are burning down ancient libraries full of potential cures that we might never, ever get the chance to read. So, I'll just leave you with this question. From a Neanderthal putting a flower in a grave to a scientist winning a Nobel Prize from an ancient text, history shows us over and over that the answers to some of our biggest problems are hidden in plain sight, in nature. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, as these green libraries around the world vanish, what cures are we losing before we even know they exist?
Unlocking health like never before.